We want to welcome everybody to True North tonight. For those of you that might be tuning in at home, we want to welcome you as well. Glad to have you with us tonight. In just a minute, you'll have a QR code where you guys can sign in and let us know that you are watching and where you are watching from. Everybody else, we'll get ready to greet one another in just a moment. If you've got a cell phone, if you can silence that, that will be very, very helpful to us so that it's not going to be a distraction while we go about tonight. We got a lot of things happening this evening. If you're a guest, we're glad that you're with us. I've already met a few guests, and I see some other faces that I don't recognize. So we look forward to getting a chance to meet you a little bit later on. Have you had a good week, Blake?
Yeah, it's been great. Did you recover on sleep from Burrowfest?
I think I did. I went home Sunday and took a nap. I did a long family walk, and then I went and sat down, and I woke up about 2 hours later and did not know where I was. It was one of those kind of naps. It was a great nap, and I think I've done good. Burrowfest was the best parts of Winterfest without the parts that are tougher to recover from.
Right, yeah. No uphill walks.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll see. Here's the QR code. If you're watching at home, take a moment to get a screenshot of that or to check in. If you're here in the room, there's no need to do that. But we'd love for you, if you're at home, to get a screenshot of that, or let somebody else use their phone and come over to your phone and let us know who all in your family is watching and where you're watching from. We'll give you just a moment to check in and do that, because we'd like to know where everybody is. Everybody had a good week? Did anybody, those of you that were here for Burrowfest, did you recover on some sleep? You're still trying to recover? Come on, some of us are older than you, and surely you should be able to recover by now. But it was a great time. We'll have more to say about that in just a minute. There's our QR code. Those of you that are in the room and those of you watching from home, we want to make sure that you are aware of the church app. You'll see the North Boulevard church app. It looks like that. You can go online and find that if you go to northboulevard.com/app. And it'll walk you through how to download that. Everybody here should have this on your mobile device. How many of you already have the church app on your phone? I'm just curious, how many in this room? I was thinking that maybe a lot of folks in here did not have that. But if you have the app, just to kind of walk you through, this is what you'll find. You can watch the services. Everything is all right there. Sermon notes, everything is on the app. You can then scroll down to ministries and find the NBYG. When you click on NBYG, it'll take you to East or West. So if you are in the North Boulevard West Youth Group, you can click on West. If you're here at the East Campus, you click on East. And I believe you just clicking on that right there. It'll then take you into the NBYG East. You can scroll through there and find information about a lot of things. But the main thing you can do there is you can watch North Boulevard Live, True North, or you can watch archives of True North. You can find those there. And you can also go and sign up for all the different things that we do. You'll find the medical releases for teens and adults there, or the adult medical release there. You can also sign up to get the top 10 emails, or you can sign up to get the text messages. So we want to make sure that you're signed up, because if you are not, then you're going to miss out on a lot of information. But that is how you go and sign up and get that app, northboulevard.com/app. Everybody should take an opportunity to do that. Load that app onto your phone so that you have that, because in the future, there'll probably be ways to sign up for things on the app and such and so forth. So make sure you've got that. You've got the app?
Got the app.
Is there a certain use that you use it for more often than not?
I'll use it to watch like the 10 minutes before service and the 10 minutes after, like the big three. And then like this past week, I had to use it to catch up with what happened Sunday morning.
That's right.
So I got to watch David's sermon through the app.
Okay, so you can go and do that online, but you can also do those kind of things on the app. That would be helpful.
Yeah, it makes it really easy for David to become a podcast.
There you go.
So you listen to it in the car.
There you go. So make sure you check that out. Those of you watching home, parents and or students, check and do that. I believe I have a quick update about those that signed up for the Mexico mission trip. It's not good news. It's not bad news. It's just really no news. They have extended the restrictions on the border until the end of March, and that's been happening since last March. So there's a good chance it would happen again in April. We're not really sure. All I can tell you is that right now we do not know anything. The City of Children will not allow any visitors until 30 days after they lift those restrictions. So if they lift them at the end of March, then a group could come at the end of April. I think you know how a calendar works. Right now, the earliest group that is supposed to go down is May the 29th. So as long as they are lifted by April the 29th, that group will be able to go. If somebody said, give me the chances, I would feel bad giving you chances. I don't know the chances. I'm just going to try to update you. We'll send an email out to cover those that aren't here at this meeting. But those of you that have relatives that are a part of that, or siblings or parents that are not a part of True North or may not get the emails, you may want to let them know that. We're still going to we're still praying and hoping. But the DIF, the agency that allows visitors into the homes right now, they are not allowing visitors into the home. So that's the latest news that we have. It's no news really, except that we're not going to know anything until March. The question then becomes, well, by what date do you decide that we're not going at all? We're certainly not going to make that decision before March. But probably sometime in April, we will have to decide if we're going to, how that's going to be handled. We can obviously decide, in May, and they say, yeah, you can come now. Okay, then we're going to try to get plane tickets and go. There's a lot of logistic factors that will make that difficult. I'm not going to take time to explain all that to this group because not everybody's involved. But just know that it's been extended until March, and we're in a holding pattern to wait and see. So that's where that stands. Okay, now we are going to have our 4-minute party, and the way we do this is if you are one of our students who's going to help us out, would you come on up here and get ready to meet our guests? We're not going to embarrass our guests when we all stand up in just a minute. If it's your very first time here, you just come up and meet these students. They've got a Baskin-Robbins gift card for you just for being here. If you have visited before but did not get your gift card, feel free to show up and come up and get your gift card, even if it's not your first time. But we want anybody here to fill out a visitor form and to receive the gift card. More importantly, we want all of our guests to be greeted. So everybody, adults in the back included, we want you to find at least one person that you do not know. Introduce yourself, check in with them, and we're going to do that for about 4 minutes. That's why we call it the 4-minute party. Are you ready to meet somebody you don't know? All right, yes. Let's all stand up and let's have a 4-minute party. Play the music, Mike. Hey,
innovative.
So where's Ian Qualls? Ian, come on up, Ian. If you will grab that microphone right over there, guys, in the back. Ian's grabbing the mic there. We're going to turn that one on. So Ian was telling me about something, a project that he's working on, and I thought that this is something that we really should spotlight. So first of all, you are trying to attain what?
My Eagle Scout.
Okay, the rank of Eagle Scout. You're very close. Have you completed everything else except for your project?
I have 2 merit badges in the project.
Okay, and then you will achieve the rank of Eagle Scout, which is awesome. Very proud of you for that. You had a really cool project idea, and you were just telling me about it, and I said we should talk about this. Explain what it is that you are doing.
So I am making a plexiglass partition, kind of like the ones at the desk at school, but making a box with a plexiglass screen at Stones River Manor so residents can visit their family outside during the spring and summer.
So awesome. Where will that plexiglass box go?
We haven't set a spot yet, but it'll be at one of their outdoor pavilions or gazebos.
Okay, so they would come to the pavilion?
Yes.
And then somebody would sit on one side, and somebody could sit on the other, and they're able to visit their relatives. Is that right?
Yes.
Very cool. So about how big is this thing going to be?
Probably no more than 5-6 feet by about 4 or 5 feet wide.
So you go to the manor or what?
We could do Stones River Manor in that.
We could all, we could all cram in there.
We wouldn't socially distance.
We could at least get Samuel to go stand in there and say a prayer. If Samuel could just go into the box and say a prayer, that'd be great. How long is this going to take to complete?
I'm hoping to send the paperwork off this coming Monday, and then hoping to have the project done by the end of April.
Okay.
Wasn't a Boy Scout. What paperwork are you sending off?
A project proposal plan.
Okay. All right.
And then they approve, which I'm sure they will.
Yes.
And then that'll be so Stones River Manor is probably pretty excited about it, or do they know about it yet?
Yes, they know. I've got to set up a meeting to show them the paperwork and have them sign off that they like the specifications and the details, and then I send it to BSA Council.
Okay, all right, very good. Well, we just wanted to spotlight what Ian was doing. Yeah, let's recognize that. Thanks awesome. A lot, Ian. Good luck with that. That'll be great. You have to get your Eagle before you turn 18, which you're probably going to easily make. And then you expect that project to be done about what time? About when? Okay, all right, very good, very good. Well, congratulations, that's awesome. We're excited. So now we're going to go into the pictures of the week. There we go. Sorry, I threw a curveball. I forgot that I was going to talk about Ian. Some pictures of the week. Let's see. Oh, we just want to show a few pictures for Borough Fest. How many of you were at Borough Fest last weekend? Raise your hand if you were here in the room. It was really an awesome time. One of the first moments that for me really felt normal in a long, long time. We talked about that, I think, on Sunday as well, on Sunday class. But did you feel the same way?
Yeah, I don't know that worship has felt like it did Friday night in a long time. There's just an energy in the room, and it just kind of felt like we were all back together. Like, I think that there have been moments throughout the pandemic that we said, when we get to this moment, it'll feel normal again, it'll feel great again. And I feel like that moment's kind of either passed or been pushed off. And I feel like Friday night, it was kind of this is what it feels like to be somewhat normal again.
Yeah. I didn't have a chance to take a lot of pictures, so I don't have a ton of pictures. But we were in here. There was about 150 people that gathered on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or some parts of that. It really was a fabulous weekend. This is kind of what the room looked like with our worship. Jordan House came up and led worship for us. That was great. Here's the crew that was there, at least on Sunday, I think. Pretty awesome picture. And then we had our four interns were here. So some of you did not get a chance to meet them. If you're watching at home, I guess from left to right on the screen, we all remember Mackenzie Lanza, who's from Freed Hartman, and then Evan Bowen, no relation to any of our Bowens, but Evan Bowen is the girl there. She's from Lipscomb, and then John Austin Skelton, who is from Tennessee Tech. And then Tim Cooper, who lives in was born and raised in Murfreesboro, but is a student at Tennessee Tech. That's Tim on the end. So those four are going to be with us in May. They'll be joining us. They got a chance to interact with a lot of you. That was fabulous. Here's our group picture, and it's the second Winterfest weekend picture that was taken in this room, because one time we weren't able to get a picture up at the hotel, so we took one here. But here we go. This is the group picture, and as always, we kind of go through and evaluate the picture just a little bit. So let's see. We have, I don't know what Sam Duggar is looking at. Sam's looking at something else over there. And then we have, I guess Henry is, I don't know, Henry, what's going on there? He's either worshiping or something there. That was good. We move on across the picture, and we have, is that Ella? Ella, where's Ella? Where's Ella? Ella, great job in one of her first Happy Face group pictures. Great execution of the Happy Face. That was nice. And then Haley always does a great job. Haley's pretty much nailed. If you want to know how to make the Happy Face, just go and find Haley. She'll kind of coach you through and walk you through it. All right, so then we have Hope. Hope is actually one of our student interns during the school year. She obviously has a lot of experience. She's done a great job there at that. And Gannon, nice job. Where's Gannon at? Yeah, good job, Gannon. That was impressive. And then Reese is the only one that said, forget this mask, I'm going to take this picture. Reese was excited about her bowling score, and that was great. I did find out, Reese, that you did actually beat somebody's score. Well, I can't remember who it was.
Oh, I remember.
I don't want to throw anybody under the bus.
Let's just say she's a senior.
Okay, and she bowled a 4. So you bowled a 7. What was it? She said she bowled a 7 in 10 rounds.
Yes.
In 10 rounds, she bowled a 7, and she said on one, I got 7 points in one bowl.
Yes.
That was her phrase. So not only does she not know how to bowl, but we'll have to educate you on how to talk about bowling. But for somebody that bowled a 7, she does a great Happy Face. So yes. Good job, Reese. She's fairly new to the group, and that's great. The only person that may be more adorable is Haven House. Haven was very, very excited about that. I think we have maybe one more. Will's not all that excited, but there's only one better one in this picture. And the reason we can't see it is because they are hidden by that arrow. Yeah. I think the winner this time goes to Sam Chapman. There's Sam. Sam's right there with his mask completely covering his face. So good job, Sam. Nicely done. good job. So that was Borough Fest. We had a great time. You ordered a shirt. Those have been ordered, right?
Yes, we got the confirmation today.
Okay, and they'll be coming in. It'll probably take a week or so when they come in. As soon as they do, they're $10, and you'll be able to give us those in just a bit. All right. Against my better judgment, we're going to try this, but we're going to need some volunteers. And do you want to? I think you should participate.
Okay.
I think you should. The goal is 4. All right, 4. We're not talking bowling now. Reese looked at me like, oh, I can beat 4. I can get 7. No. We're looking for 4 words. We shouldn't do this, but I just keep thinking we're going to be able to get 4 words. It's time. I got to back up. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. We did have a contest for the best airbrush T-shirt. We did have a contest. Is it okay here in the room? Yeah. So we did have a. Well, she sent the picture, so I'm thinking I am able to show it, right? And so Emma Kate is our winner of the best airbrush T-shirt. This is her and Haley. Her and Haley sent in their airbrush T-shirts. Emma Kate, how old are you in this picture? It's taken in 2011. 7 years old. You are so excited about that airbrush T-shirt. You know what's on that shirt?
I think it's just a flower in my name.
Okay, it looks like a Demogorgon from Stranger Things. It's
The mind flayer.
What I first thought was that it was some creature, but yes, it's a flower. Yeah, there we go. So hey, a big hand. Haley is our winner. She gets NBYG bucks. I don't remember what I said.
I think it was like 20.
Yeah, we're going to say it's 20 NBYG bucks. One, because I forgot to ask permission to put a picture up there. She did send it to me at the end of the contest, so she knew this was probably going to happen. And so it's 20 NBYG bucks just for sending us a picture. So congratulations to MK. All right, good job. Now we're done with that. Now we're going to move on. And we're going to try another round of...
Everybody.
Don't say
the way
it.
that everybody
Don't
just
say it.
just
the game that nobody
moan.
loves. But I'm going to need some volunteers who think that they're going to be at. Wait, did you do it last time?
And I was great at it.
You were great at it.
Charlie wants to
Would
do
you
it.
like to try to redeem yourself? How many did you get last time? What was it? Any? Yeah. Find somebody that you think will be a good talker or a good listener. Who do you want to get, Caroline? All right, Priestley, come on up. And then we're going to wait. Now, wait a minute. Guys, you two tried this last time. You think you can repeat?
Have you been practicing?
Oh, redeem. I was going to say repeat. You don't want to do that. Should we give them an opportunity to try this?
Sure, whatever.
Okay, now.
It's off the rails at
here's
this
how
point.
This is going to work. But now look, there's a screen back there you can't look at. Caroline, come on up. And there's a screen right here you can't look at. So you're going to have to, face. Who's going to give the clues? You're going to give the clues. So Caroline, you come and stand to where you can see the screen. Here, do this.
Go on stage.
You see the screen. Emily, come on this side. Emily, you're going to stand right here, but you need to kind of look that way. You can see her, but make sure you can't see the screen. Okay? Oh, they blocked that one off. Okay, very good. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, you Caroline, you're going to come stand right here. All right. So you all will see the words. Now remember, there's a word you're trying to give. The words underneath you cannot use. You cannot use a part of those words, and you cannot use any part of the actual clue word. Okay? So if the word was toothpaste, you can't use the word tooth or paste or any of the forbidden words. All right. I want to see if somebody can get 4 in a minute. Do you have the timer? Are you able to keep time?
Yes.
Now, Emily,
How long
have
do
you
we
done
keep
this
the
before?
time?
Have you tried this? Oh, you've done it before, but not here. Okay. Now, what you can do is since you're up here and spaced out, you may pull your mask out if you want to, so that we can hear you. And we're going to show the words. We're going to go for 4 words. All right. Nobody's able to yell out words. Nobody give any clues. Nobody nod. You cannot use no hand gestures, and you can't point to anything.
No.
Okay. No charades. So, all right, very good. This is 1 minute. Is that what you last time? We're going to go for 1 minute. All right. I wonder how Grandma Caroline would do this game.
I may need my readers, but I'll try.
Okay. All right. Are you ready? Now,
said something the other day.
Chandler, you and Clark take notes. Or maybe not take notes. I really want to see Reese try this.
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah.
She did it last time. We killed it.
Wait.
We killed it. Just like bowling.
They got all right, here's the deal. I'm not giving like minus points. We're just giving you points. But if they say a word, everybody in the audience can just make a buzzer sound that'll sound like this.
I dare you.
Okay, wow. All right, you ready?
Yes.
You got 1 minute.
We got it.
4 words. Here you go. And if you want to pass, you can pass.
Okay.
But you can only pass
Twice.
2 times.
Okay.
Because I don't have a ton of words. Are you ready?
Yes.
Here we go. Actually, let's just pass it.
Okay.
Here we go, Caroline. And here's your first word, and go.
I was a water girl for this type of team that's in the fall. Yes, but it's a person on the team. Yeah.
Got it. Got one.
Oh, so, no, but they have this body part. And it's their most popular one.
40
yes.
seconds.
They got it.
Okay, so if I was my dad has one, and if I was a man, it's a type of hair. Oh, my legs, sorry.
Can't say that. Can't say
Next
that.
one.
Go on to the next one.
So there's an excellent type of shoes that's short. It's an animal, but
20
it's also a name of
seconds.
shoes, but it's a shortened version. It's a shortened version of an animal name, a reptile, probably not, scaly, tail, no, what's it, Bendy the Jungle Girl?
7, 6,
What's his, no, I can do that.
and that's time.
All right, you got 2 words. All right, the word is crocodile. All right, now, Clark and Chandler, come on up. Thank you very much. Who's going to give the clue? All right, he's going to hold that, and then you're going to yell the word out. You guys can pull your mask down. All right, Chandler, the record right now is 2. Okay? But we're trying to go for 4. I want somebody to get 4 words. All right, you ready? Yes. Here comes your first word. I'll give you a second to see it before I say go. Okay, here's your first word. Ready, and go.
Okay, so people do this to show affection while laying down.
Well, let's keep getting close.
All right, so just pass.
Hurry,
pass,
Chandler.
pass.
I think we're gonna pass that one.
Yeah. Okay.
Pass that
People
and
ride
then
in
the
this
next word.
in cities, and the color is very light, and you have to call it,
30 seconds.
and you have to pay for it. The ride in a big city, and it's a
20
it's
seconds.
It's a vehicle, and it is.
Man.
You pay for it as soon as you get into it.
10 seconds.
You pay, and it brings you around.
Keep redeeming yourselves.
It's so
5,
Way to redeem.
and time.
All right, there's your word. And just for the record, this was the other word.
Yeah, that was okay. Yeah.
Cuddle.
That was the other word. All right. Well, now what I need. What? No, is there an adult in the room that says I can at least be 2 words? 2 words.
Brent Rosser.
Brent?
I think Brent Rosser.
Brent, but Brent needs to find a partner. Is Brent is he gonna play with you, or should he go and partner with the other half of the box family?
I don't know. Brent's an adult. He can choose.
All right, Chandler, gonna hand the microphone. All right, let's hear it for Brent and Lizzie. Now, who's gonna give the clues?
Apparently I am.
And you sound very excited about it. Lizzie, you understand the rules of the game. This has been so eloquently demonstrated for you. Except that this time you're actually supposed to give an answer. Okay. So we went to 2-0. Yeah, that's right. So we're going to show the first word. Brent, you know how to play.
Yes.
We're going to try to go for 4 words in a minute. Okay? You ready?
Ready and...
I'll show you your first word, and then I'll say go after you see the first word. Okay, ready? Listen very carefully, and go.
He's English. He wrote a whole bunch of things a long time ago. You study it in school in English class. Like...
Got it. All right, go on, go. Next.
Okay. This is on my jeans, and I put my keys in it.
Got it. Next one.
Okay, this is a game where you use a bat, and if you get all 4 runs in, it's called
You said run, so we got to keep going.
Wait.
It was run. Yeah,
She said
run.
run, but she can.
But he said you get all
Oh,
the
this
way.
is an animal that's in it's very cuddly. It's in a country in Asia.
Got it. We got one more.
Okay, I put this out every week, and they come by and get it, and they use it for other things. Like you can put in
5 seconds.
glass and stuff like that.
Got it. We got it. 4 words. 4 words. She said recycle.
She did.
And then he said time.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
He said
No, I said use. That's okay.
we still got 3.
I said the two-
We're going to
the
consider
two.
that. We're going to consider that a win. Thank you.
Well done, people.
All right, good job. Probably never again.
We said that last time, though.
Yeah. I just think we're going to keep playing until somebody gets 4 words. We're going to keep playing until somebody gets 4. Not tonight. Not tonight.
We'll be here all night.
All right, very good.
That'd be a good lock-in game.
At the end of the game, Mike, you just go to the slide and put the images back on the screen there. We'll go, and there's one other picture that I want to show you. And I just realized that I forgot to. Okay, I want to show us some pictures to prepare our minds as we go into worship. Those that are going to help us sing, you all want to come on up and take your spot and just kind of hang out over here for just a moment. And then we'll show these images in just a second. Is that the last one there? Is that the last picture? Okay. All right, we'll keep moving on past that. So we can go ahead and turn some of the lights out, guys, so we can see these pictures a little more carefully. This was in the country of England. One of the largest trees in the entire country, or so I was told, was struck by lightning and was cut off from about here up. It was, or right above this. The tree was hit by lightning and was shredded by lightning. Some of you probably seen trees in it. It was going to be cut down. There was a guy whose name I wrote on a card, and I forgot his last name. I think his last name is O'Rourke, and he is a sculptor. He came in and said, hey, I don't want us to tear this tree down. Instead of tearing this tree down, let's do something. So he built some scaffolding around the tree, which took a couple of days to actually get all the scaffolding put up. And then he began to go to work. You could see where the tree was kind of cut off there at the top. And then he went to work. Over the course of 6 days, he began to take his chainsaw, using only a chainsaw, began to carve out around this particular part of the tree, continued to sculpt, and then created this sculpture, this hand that is reaching to the heavens. It's a pretty fascinating sculpture, especially when you get up close and see some of the detail. You can probably find other pictures online. But I just thought these pictures were fascinating. When asked, why did you do this? He said, well, I wanted to take something that was seemingly destroyed, and I wanted to try to recreate it so that it looked as though it were reaching up into the heavens to be recreated. Something that is saying, I'm broken and I want you to fix it. And so this artist spent quite a bit of time, a lot of talent, working on this tree to just tell a story so that everybody who walks through this particular town, this forest, he coated it with a kind of a resin that will protect it from insects and other creatures. And everybody who sees it, he said, I just want it to be a metaphor for anybody who feels broken or wounded and he was trying to reach out and say, I want to be recreated. This is essentially what we do when we worship. When we get together, and sometimes people will lift their hands in worship. There may be people who just say, I want everybody to watch me worship, so I'm going to show them how holy I can be. And that's not the motivation for most people. It may be for somebody, but that is, and that's an issue they've got to take care of. But most people that are going to do that are not trying to get your attention. But they're trying to, like a tree that's been struck by lightning, they're trying to reconnect to something and say, God, I just need you to come down and fix this brokenness. And so as we worship here in just a moment, I just want us to picture images like this. We're not singing songs. We are going to sing songs. They have words. But we're going to be reaching. We're going to be reaching up to heaven. If not with our actual hands, we're doing it with our hearts or our minds. I hope that your mind goes far away from whatever has got you burdened here. And in a moment, some of our prayer team, those of our students that were willing to pray, if you're willing to do that, just stand up and go to the back area of the room. Some of you have seen us do this many times. You've got these students here, and just go and find any one of these students. Some specific prayer requests that I know that we want to mention. So those of you who are praying and nobody comes to you, I got a text from Jerry Black. Some of you will remember Jerry. Jerry's children came to our ministry now most recently. But Jerry said, would you please lift up my friend Jeff Woodford in prayer? He has COVID. The next 18 hours are very critical for him. And so we want to lift up Jerry's friend Jeff. You all can do that, or you can say a prayer here. We also want to remember Linda Goodwin. Some of you know Clayton and Clayton's sisters and brother. But Clayton's in our ministry, and Linda, some of you know Miss Linda Lawrence, who teaches our singing class. Linda has suffered the effects of a couple of strokes over the past week, and is in the hospital once again, and has asked for prayers. So we want to pray for Miss Linda, so that you all pray for Linda. Those are two that I know are immediately pressing. And then I just heard, I don't want to put Bill on the spot, but Bill, while we were having dinner, just mentioned that your sister is waiting some tests. Do you mind sharing her first name with us? Patsy. And we're not going to necessarily ask for a lot of detail, but she's waiting on some test results. And I want to ask that you pray for Patsy, Bill's sister. Many of you know Bill. Bill was our county tonight, and Bill has had all of his kids come through our ministry and still is an active volunteer in NYG, so we're going to pray there. There's a lot of prayer requests that I know that I'm forgetting, and if I've not lifted up one specifically, then feel free to go and find one of these people and say, hey, could you pray for this person? I know we have several students in our ministry that are just dealing with all kinds of things. And some of you may know these students, some of you probably know students that we don't know who are struggling. You don't have to mention them by name. You can go and say, would you just pray for a friend? Or would you have to tell us it's a guy or a girl? You can say, go and pray for somebody. But we want to invite you while we worship to not just sing, but to lift up a hand to God. And you can do that with these folks here, or you can do it on your own. If you want to get somebody you know better and go off and pray off to the side with them, you can do that as well. Okay? We're going to sing a few songs together, so let's go ahead and stand up. And we'll let these folks help us sing up here. And we're going to start with the words that kind of echo this very sculpture. We'll start with the third verse. So let's sing. If you want to pray, go back and do that. Remember all those words. Lift your hands to the Father, hands to the Father, hands to the Father of glory. Lift your hands to the Father, hands to the Father, hands to the Father of love. And we will glorify the Lord. And we will glorify the But I just never really listened to the words to this song. And it has become one of my 3 favorite hymns. People say, what's your favorite hymn? It's probably, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing, is probably one of my favorite hymns. And this is one of the top 2 or 3. And so it's not a song that we would like to die to sing at Impact or at Winterfest or things like that. But I want to, and we've not practiced it with you all, so you all may not even know it. And so it's pretty simple to pick up on. We're not going to do the greatest job of singing it, and I didn't rehearse it with them. We have sung it before. There's a reason I want you to hear these lyrics. It's pretty simple to pick up on. I'll try my best to lead. I'm not the best leader or the best teacher of songs, but I just want you to hear these words. Because it was one day in Knoxville when I'm singing this song, and all of a sudden I just thought, I'm going to read these words. I kind of make fun of the song, and it's just kind of slow, and I listened to it, and I really began to cry, sitting there in worship. It just kind of undid something in my heart because of what I was going through, I guess, in my life at the time. Pretty simple song. And there's 3 verses, and I may stumble my way through it, but it goes like this. Whenever you're ready, you can just kind of jump in. The notes are there, so those of you who read music can at least have something to go by. But it goes something like this. Be still, my soul, the Lord is on thy side. Bear patiently the cross of grief or pain. Leave to thy God to order Peace to a joyful end. Great job. Again, I know that it's not the catchy, Get Right Church or some great song we love to sing, but I want you to hear the words. Let the words minister to anybody here whose life has gotten really rushed and busy or out of control. If any part of your life is out of control, these next couple of verses may speak to you. Let's try to sing those together. Be still, my soul, thy God doth undertake to guide the future as he has the past. Thy hope, thy confidence, let nothing shake. All now mysterious shall be bright at last. Be still, my soul, the waves and winds still know his voice to rule them while he dwelt below. Be still, my soul, the hour is hasting on, where we shall be forever with the Lord. When disappointment, grief, and fear are gone, sorrow forgot, love's purest joys restored. Be still, my soul, when change and tears are past, all safe and blessed we shall meet at last. Thank you for singing a song that is kind of out of our repertoire on Wednesday nights, but a hymn that I hope spoke to someone. We'll sing one more together, and then we'll dive into a message from Ecclesiastes 3 and 4. Let's sing together. Just as I am without one plea, the thy blood was shed for me, and as thou bidst me come to thee, O Lamb of God, I All right, go ahead and have a seat. We're going to jump back into our series that we're doing called Meaningless on the book of Ecclesiastes. If you've got a Bible, I want to invite you to turn to the book of Ecclesiastes. Last week I tried something that I've not done in a while, and that is to just teach without using any slides. There's a couple of reasons I need to use a few slides this week, but I really appreciate the way that you all have kind of jumped in, at least some of you, and have locked into this series. I realize that Bible teaching may not always be the most thrilling thing, at least for some folks. Some of you that may be guests may say, I'm here because a friend invited me, or I don't know a lot about the Bible. That's totally fine. We're glad that you're here. We hope that you find that the words that we're going to say through Scripture speak to whatever you're going through in your life. And we got a chance to jump into Ecclesiastes 3 last week, and I'm going to try to just preach from the text. I don't have any text from Ecclesiastes on the screen, but I will have a few other texts. We have been going a bit deeper in this series than maybe we sometimes are able to go, and I hope that's not a problem. I don't want to try to lose anybody. It's a challenge to try to speak to the 7th grader, the 12th grader, the college student, and the parent, and then somebody watching at home. Hopefully, if one part goes over your head, another part may be more in your wheelhouse, and if something else you feel like is a little too shallow for you, then maybe we'll challenge you with something else. And there may be other venues or other ways where you can go and dig a little deeper. But I want to speak tonight to the person in the room who, again, is feeling like life is a little bit out of control. That's why I picked that song, Be Still My Soul. Because I have often heard that if the enemy cannot make you bad, if he can't make you bad, he'll make you busy. I want to make sure that you hear that. If he can't make you bad, he'll make you busy. There's a lot of you in this room that are not going to easily give in to the temptation to do things that maybe you shouldn't do. Some of you are finding yourself even right now battling choices that you made, and you realize when I'm with these people, I do fine. But when I'm with my other friends, I just find myself in situations. And so some of us, we find ourselves, okay, maybe the enemy knows how to get us to do things that are bad. But probably for more of you in the room than not, and at least in my adult life, I found it to be true. If he can't make you bad, he'll make you busy. He'll just allow so many things to pile onto you that you don't know which way is up, you don't know which way to turn, and you just find yourself, everything else gets crowded out. Sometimes with great things. So those of you that are taking good classes at school, or those of you that are involved in a lot of extracurricular activities, those of you that are playing sports, those of you that have hobbies, those things aren't wrong. And those things, by the way, are platforms by which God is going to use you to do all kinds of amazing things and to reach people that we're never going to be able to reach. But those things can then get in the way of trying to pursue God. If he can't make you bad, he'll make you busy. And so the song, Be Still My Soul, just let that song sit on you, and hopefully we'll have time to come back to that again in just a moment. This is the title of our series, Meaningless. We find ourselves in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, and I'm trying to remember exactly where, as we continue with this idea of this word, the word hevel, the word that Solomon uses for meaninglessness. He says everything is meaningless. And that word, I keep mentioning this because there's always new people. He's not saying it serves no purpose. He's saying it's a vapor. It's fleeting, and it doesn't last for a long. So we use the smoke analogy. I thought of another analogy. We talked about sandcastles, but I thought of another one. And, when I was a kid, or when my girls were younger, it's amazing how much fun these could provide, right? You go to the City of Children, those of you that have been down to the City of Children, we often will break out the bubbles, and the kids love playing with bubbles. Now, I don't know at what age we stop getting entertained by bubbles. I'm still pretty amazed when they've got we go to New York also, or we've been in the past to Camp Shiloh, and we go to New York City, and there are bubble artists that will stand in Central Park and will make huge bubbles that go over people, or they'll blow smoke into bubbles, do amazing things. Bubbles are pretty fascinating, but this is a great way of describing that. I didn't test this out, so I don't know how old these are or if these work, and I probably should have checked to even make sure it had a wand in here, but sure enough, there is one. And now my hand's going to feel great for the rest of True North. I can't exactly clasp the wand there. I need somebody with small hands to reach that wand there. Can you reach that down in there? Should have prepped that in ahead of time and got that. Very good. Nice. Oh, you're going to get it. There we go. How many of you remember playing with bubbles when you were younger? Some of you have siblings and you end up, I used to try to see how far the bubbles could go. I don't know if these are even if we're going to get them to work. We're going to try and see. We got one bubble. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. And even I'm 49, and I find myself, if I'm at a park or I'm watching, it's hard to turn away when somebody is blowing bubbles. They've got bubble guns, right, where you shoot the bubbles out. And they've got bubble machines that blow bubbles, right? Those of you in the back of the room, you feel like you're watching Lawrence Welk, right? Oh, there we go. Those are very small bubbles. And Solomon would say, see these? It's hevel. It's hevel because it's right there. It's hard to grasp. When you grasp it, it goes away. It doesn't last long, and there it goes. And somebody would say, this is the biggest waste of time ever. Like you paid money for this. And I could sit there and do this. I don't know how long it would take to blow all of these bubbles, but eventually they would all be gone. It's always fun when you could catch one on the back of your hand, right? Or you try to watch it go and you try to see if you could follow the last bubble as the wind caught it and it went, and you just try to follow it all the way and see which bubble went the farthest away from you, right? Some of you are like, you had way more fun with bubbles than I ever had. You got way into that. But Solomon would probably use these bubbles, and he would say, this is a good way to describe life. And somebody else would say, yeah, it's a giant waste of time. Why would I want to blow all those bubbles and they're all going to be gone? I watch them. There they are. Yay. And then they're gone. They're meaningless. And Solomon would say, no. I think you have missed the point. We use the phrase, I hate to burst your bubble. And Solomon would say, you're looking at it all wrong. Because again, the gift is not that we're going to end up with a bubble. Like, watch this. I'm going to blow a bubble and then you, Jack, are going to have a bubble. No, it's not going to last that way. If he tries to catch the bubble, he's going to feel like this is like you're taunting me. The gift is not giving you a bubble. The gift is bubbles. You're like, that's the same thing. No, we're making up games. We're having fun. And at some point, we're going to put the cap back on it, and it's going to be done. But Solomon would say, this is what life is like. Go into Ecclesiastes 3, because there is one verse. There is one verse in Ecclesiastes 3, or one phrase, that Solomon mentions over and over and over again. And if you were playing Blue's Clues, you guys know that I like to use Blue's Clues analogies because many of you grew up playing Blue's Clues. You remember seeing the Blue's Clues in the living room. And Steve would walk around, or whatever his name was later on, but Steve would walk around, you'd see the clue, and how many of you yelled at the TV and told Steve where the clue was? It's okay to admit it, right? All right, I saw Ava's hand first. So Ava, you would yell, and then Steve would talk back to you, right? And when he talked back to you, and he would say, it's where? And you'd say, it's on the fridge. And he'd say, on the fridge? And you were convinced, be honest, that Steve could hear you talking, right? And do what? Yeah, it's like right now it's just me and him. If anybody else is watching, I'm helping Steve out. Everybody across the world is thankful for Ava Boyle, who is talking to Steve and telling him where this clue is found. If I were to say, I want you to see how many times you could find this phrase. Some of you could go through Ecclesiastes and say, got it, I found it, like hunting Easter eggs. You could go through and say, I found all of them. Like looking for tiles at camp, or looking for clues in a hidden picture magazine. Solomon peppers one phrase through, and it's one that you better not miss. Otherwise, you're going to go through life going, all of my bubbles burst. Some of you say, why would I even try to blow a bubble? I don't mean blow a bubble like this kind of bubble. Why would I try to do anything? Because it floats for a while and then it's gone and it's over. I try to do this and eventually it gets ruined. I try to do this and it eventually goes away. I try to do this, and so some of us know what that's like. I've loved teaching this series because some of you start off a lesson not really paying attention, and then there's a sentence, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I'm living that. Oh yeah, I recognize that. And when you heard we were doing Ecclesiastes, some of you are like, I didn't even know that was a book of the Bible. You're like, I thought Habakkuk was odd enough. Now you're going to Ecclesiastes. Look with me, I think we got all the way down to verse 11. We finished around verse 11. So I'm going to read. If you have a Bible, it's going to probably be easier. If you want to look on with somebody, that's great. If you got a device, you can follow along as long as it's not distracting you to be on a phone. But look at verse 11. He, God, has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also, and I'm going to pause, and when I pause, for those of you that have an NIV, only because that's the translation I'm reading from, if you have an NIV, I want you to fill in the blank so that we can stay on the same page together. We'll go back to verse 11 again. He has also set, fill in the blank. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can what God has done from beginning to end. Now I'm going to pause there. That's not the phrase that I want you to pick up on, but I believe, I forgot to write down the order of my slides, but we've talked about this idea of the fleetingness of time. And so I think I have this word fathom. This was a retreat, a youth rally that I was honored to be able to speak at in Pittsburgh for the past several years. And a couple years ago, their theme was fathom. We talked about this word last week. Somebody raise a hand if you can show me what a fathom is. Somebody will remember. Okay, Clark, stand up. You can stand up and show me what a fathom is. Okay, what did we say a fathom was, roughly? Yeah, the average length of a person's outstretched arms. It's about 6 feet, and it's a measure of depth, and that is what a fathom is. Okay, thank you. You can have a seat. So I've got down from the dictionary here, that's the definition, a unit of length equal to 6 feet, chiefly used in reference to the depth of water. It also means to understand a difficult problem after much thought. This idea of, I can't even fathom what it is you're trying to say. And here in Ecclesiastes, he says, nobody can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. So I want us to look at another passage, and I think, well, I just show you there the definition. This is a picture of a man's outstretched arms, and Solomon obviously is not referring to this when he writes this, because this hadn't happened. And I don't even think he was trying to do a play on words of the meaning of the word fathom. I just found that to be fascinating. A book that most of you could probably read and understand, written by one of the most knowledgeable scholars and theologians of our time, and maybe of any time, N.T. Wright. He wrote a book called Simply Christian. Now, it's a book that's not for the faint of heart. If you are like, I just can't really focus, then maybe you'll need a little bit more time before you can read it. But my guess is anybody in the room, regardless of your grade, this isn't just a high school book. It's written by somebody who is, like, I have to read some pages more than once, but I do believe that most everybody in this room could at least follow this book. A lot of N.T. Wright's readings you couldn't. I had the privilege of meeting N.T. Wright. He's from England, and he spoke at the Pepperdine Lectures several years ago, and I went and got there 2 hours early for his lecture because it filled up so fast. 2 hours early, and I went to the bottom and sat on the very front row and got to listen to him teach, mainly because I wanted to get a happy face pic, and I forgot to put it in this slide presentation. Maybe I'll show it later. But it's probably, of all the happy face pics I have, it's probably one of the ones that I'm the most excited about, because N.T. Wright wasn't exactly sure what I was asking him to do, nor did he really maybe want to do it, but he was like, sure, I'll do it, it's fine. And I'm really excited to have that picture with him. This book was life-changing. If some of you are saying, I'm just kind of struggling in my faith, I can point you to this book. But there's one principle in this book that I want to make sure that we know, and we've talked about it before. N.T. Wright says that in every human heart, he even talks about this passage, that God has put eternity into Molly's heart. That means even if Molly is not a believer, Even if Molly is not a Christian, even if she's never opened a Bible, God has put eternity into Molly's heart. Meaning, there's something in her heart that is going to say, there's got to be more than this. And even your skeptic friends, you may be here in the room tonight and you may say, I have no belief in God. First of all, we welcome you here and we'd welcome a dialogue. We love to talk. Even if you've got something you want to challenge with, we're fine to sit and just have a dialogue and reason together. Because this past week at Borough Fest, the entire theme was about finding out what is true. So let's imagine that Molly was not raised going to church. You didn't have a Christian family. You've never before been exposed. Do you mind me using an example, Molly? And I didn't think you would. Molly shows up, and N.T. Wright says this, and I know that this is maybe challenging material, but you can follow me because I believe this is important. N.T. Wright says, Molly, there are 4 things that God has put in your heart, and he calls them echoes of a voice. An echo of a voice. When you hear an echo, it's not a voice, but it sounds a lot like it. So when you yell something in the canyon and you hear the echo, you know there was a voice that made it, right? And so he says these are echoes of a voice because they point to something else. And here's what he says about Molly. And to any of you, especially if you've got a friend who says, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in the Bible, N.T. Wright would say, these things are true even of that person, or of you if that's you in this room. He says Molly has a longing for justice. God has wired that into every human. You go to even other tribes and other countries, people have a longing for justice. If something wrong happens, Molly is going to say, that shouldn't be that way. Somebody should do something about that. Now, we might have different things that we think require action, but you're going to have a longing for justice. And N.T. Wright says one of the greatest evidences of God is that within almost every person is a longing for justice. Does it prove God? No, but it points to God. It points to a God. Because without a God, there would be no moral law to appeal to for Molly to say, that's wrong. There would be no moral law, nothing to say that it was wrong. Every human has a longing for justice. So it's a Blue's Clue that says, there's something big going on here. Molly's also going to have a quest for spirituality. You go, no, not my friends. My friend never wants, he has no quest. She has no quest for, no, I'm not talking about for church or even for Christianity, but there is a quest for spirituality. People love stories about spiritual things. And people ask questions about, is there life after death? And is this all there really is? People ask these questions. Does it prove God? No, but it's hardwired into you. God made you to have a quest for spirituality. It's another clue. Also, a hunger for relationships. And Ecclesiastes, this chapter is going to really get into that. Molly is going to have a need to have companionship and friendship because God has hardwired that into everybody. And then finally, the last Blue's Clue is an appreciation for beauty. Now, what she likes to look at in the plant world and what I like to admire in the plant world may be different. The art she likes and the art I like are going to be probably different. But we all have an appreciation and say, man, that is awesome. And N.T. Wright would say all 4 of these things have been hardwired into people that point to a voice. These are just echoes, but they point to a voice. I realize this is deep, but is it making sense so far that most people in this room have all of these things, and those are the 4 Blue's Clues? Now, I want to look at one of my favorite passages of Scripture, and if you are a student of the Bible, I would just challenge you to maybe write these words down. You say, I thought this was a series on Ecclesiastes. This is going back to this Ecclesiastes 3 when it says that God has put eternity into the hearts of all men. Look at Romans chapter 1, verse 18. The wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of people who suppress the what? Say it again. Who suppress the truth by their wickedness. Any time that we make a wrong choice, and I say we because I make them too. Anytime we make a wrong choice, when I say, hey, Friday night, I'm going to go out with you all and we're going to do this. Or, hey, on my computer, we're going to look at this. Or, I'm going to go and listen to this, watch this movie, on cable. Or, I'm going to go and we're going to talk about this person when they're not around. Anytime we do those things, we are suppressing the truth. And then look at verse 19. Since what may be known about God is plain to them. because God has made it plain to them. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, His power and nature, those things we can't see, His invisible qualities have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse. And just make sure you soak that in. You can go and read it on your own. Paul says, we don't have an excuse. Everything that we can't see about God, He has made it plain by all of the things that He has created. He keeps going. For although they knew God, they neither glorified Him as a God nor gave thanks to Him. But in their thinking, it became what? It became futile or meaningless. It became vanity, another word that Solomon uses. And their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools. And they exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like a mortal human being and birds and animals and reptiles. He's talking about idolatry there, but he says they exchanged God for something else. Let's keep going. Therefore, God gave them over to the sinful desires of their hearts, to sexual impurity for the degrading of their bodies with one another. They exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worshiped and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. So, again, this is heavy, but I just want you to see, because this is very prevalent in our world. When you begin to say, I'm going to push the truth aside because I want to focus on these things, because I can't see God. And Paul says, wait a minute, there's a lot of things about God you can't see, but you don't have an excuse, because He's made everything that is invisible about Him, He's made it plain by what He's created. No, I'm going to do things my way, and I'm going to push the truth and just set the truth over here. Then what begins to happen? Because of this, God gave them over to shameful lust. Even their women exchanged natural sexual relations for unnatural ones. In the same way, the men also abandoned natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust for one another. Men committed shameful acts with other men and received in themselves the due penalty for their error. Now, so this is a passage that seems kind of unconnected. You're like, well, now, wait a minute. Now, why are we talking about sexual impurity and homosexual behavior here? Paul is trying to connect it to say, what happens in a world where people take truth and say, we're going to put it over here because we want to be in charge? He says, this is the result. This is what happens. Everything begins to get rewired. Everything begins to get, our identity becomes completely confused because our focus is not on our identity in Christ. Let's keep reading. Furthermore, just as they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, so God gave them over to a depraved mind, so that they do what ought not to be done. They become filled with every kind of wickedness. Now, I just want you to know that in the same passage where he talks about homosexual sin, he also lists these things. So let's just read down his list. They become filled with every kind of wickedness, evil, greed, and depravity. They're full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, and malice. They are gossips, they are slanderers, they are God-haters, insolent, arrogant, and boastful. They invent ways of doing evil. They disobey their parents. They have no understanding, no fidelity, no love, no mercy. You're like, uh-oh, well, I've not done all those things, but I've done some of those things. He says, yes, when you turn your back on truth, this is what begins to happen. Although they know God's righteous decree that those who do such things deserve death, they not only continue to do these very things, but they also approve of those who practice them. Now, I want you to hear something, and I hope you hear me when I say this. I don't know that Paul delivered this as a sermon, but these are pretty harsh words, and I think they're meant to be firm, and it's okay. But imagine somebody standing up and preaching and saying it like this. Although they know God's righteous decree that those who do such things deserve death, they not only continue to do these very things, but they also approve of those who practice them. And you've probably heard sermons like that, and I'm not trying to say that sermons like that are pointless or unnecessary. It's not my point. But imagine if the very same words are said like this, and I want somebody to tell me the difference. Although they know God's righteous decree that those who do things like that deserve death, they not only continue to do these things, but they also approve of those who practice them. What's the difference in my tone in one or the other? Just somebody put it in your own words. I want one of our older students just to tell me what's different. The person who gives the first sermon and the person who gives the second one. Tell me something about each of those people. Can somebody do that for me? Who's brave enough to tackle that question? Julia, since Caroline's participated, Julia, go ahead.
The first one's really harsh and kind of cold, and then the second one's really soft and I don't know.
Okay, the first one is harsh and cold. The second one is softer. Okay, that's certainly true. What's another difference in the characteristics? Yes, Karen.
One is more angry and more blaming someone, and the other one is much more compassionate and much more loving.
Okay, all right. Now, both of those answers were right. But you said one of them is angry, and what else did you say? Yeah, one is angry and one is compassionate. One person is saying, I'm going to put you in your place, and the other one, their heart is broken that this is what it's come to. All right? I want to give you, I'm not a Greek scholar. I love Greek words, and I love to know and find out what the words are. And this word that you see, which is spelled this way in Greek, anastenazo. Anastenazo sounds like something that you might eat at a Greek restaurant. But I just want you to say that word, anastenazo. Just say it. It's a fun word to say. It's a word that we see in Scripture, and it's a word that means, well, let me show you where it appears. Turn with me real quickly to the Gospel of Mark. You're like, are we going to get to Ecclesiastes? Yeah, eventually. But it's all the Bible. The Bible's a big book. We got a lot of time. So would you turn to the book of Mark? Turn to Mark 7. Look at Mark 7. When you got it, say got it. Mark 7, I want you to look at verse 31. Somebody tell me in verse 31, you got headings in your Bible, what's about to happen? Thank you so much. Who said it? Yeah, very good, Ella. Thank you. Jesus heals many people. He's going to heal a deaf and a mute man. And look at verse 33. Afterwards, he took him aside away from the crowd. Jesus put his fingers into the man's ears. Then he spit and touched the man's tongue. He looked up to heaven, and what's the next thing we say? Say it loud. Say it louder, Molly. And with a deep sigh. Can somebody tell me why you think that phrase is there? And I'll take wrong answers too. Does somebody want to guess? Did you have a guess? Oh, I thought somebody was raising their hand. I'm sorry. Well, do you might want to guess? Why would it say that Jesus with a deep sigh? Why would you give a deep sigh? Let's play Family Feud. There could be 5 correct answers. Raise a hand so I can say, I can't hear. Yeah, Wesley. You're sad. You give a sigh when you're sad. Great. Awesome. Thank you, Wesley. Yes. Okay, you're relieved. You might give a sigh when you're relieved. All right. Why else might you give a deep sigh? Yes, ma'am. You're disappointed, right? Your parents give a deep sigh. Oh, not again. Okay, yes. You're aggravated, Justin. You're concerned. Zach, you got one way back operating the camera. What do you got? When you're tired. Yeah, very good. Oh, man, this again. Okay. Yep. When you're depressed. Goes back to what Wesley said. And I think the word often is used in somebody that is giving a sigh that comes from you're brokenhearted. So you're sad, depressed. I think all these answers are reason that people give sighs. Look at this. While you're in Mark, turn to chapter 8. Turn to chapter 8. Look at verse 11. The Pharisees came and began to question Jesus. To test him, they asked him for a sign from heaven. Well, first of all, somebody skim Mark 8 before that. What has just happened? Jesus just fed the 4,000. Then the Pharisees show up to him right after this, and they go, hey, could you give us a sign? And what does it say in verse 12, somebody? He sighed deeply and said, why does this generation ask for a sign? Again, the word that Mark uses there is this word, anastenazo. It's this word of, okay, don't you understand? Don't you get it? This one, he's probably frustrated. The other one, he's probably brokenhearted. This guy's deaf, and could you just stand up for a second? He comes to the guy who's deaf, and Jesus goes, and he could just say stuff to him, but it says that he put spit on his tongue, all kinds of reasons we get into later why he does all that. But he puts his hands on the man's ears, and he looks up and he sighs as if to say, God, Why? Why has he had to go through life with the inability to hear? Like, I want you to know it's not supposed to be like this. And he says, I want you to be open, and his ears are opened. All right, have a seat. Now, one last time. One last time. Well, my bookmark fell out. So, nope, that's not it. Right here, in chapter 8, still in chapter 8. Last one. This is all going somewhere, so I hope you're following. You're doing a good job. If not, you're acting like it, which is great. Jesus has a conversation. Would you just look at verse 14? This is right after him. It was right after the moment where he just sighed deeply. And the disciples are asking him a question. They don't understand. Look at verse 17. Aware of their discussion, Jesus asked them, why are you talking about having no bread? Do you still not see or understand? Are your hearts hardened? Do you have eyes but fail to see, and ears but fail to hear? And don't you remember when I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000? How many basketfuls of pieces did you pick up? 12, they said. And when I broke the 7 loaves for the 4,000, how many basketfuls of pieces did you pick up? And they said 7. And he said, do you still not understand? What were they arguing about that he tells them this story? Does anybody? You can look in your own Bibles. You can see what causes the discussion. Yes, thank you, Joy. They forgot to bring bread. They're like, oh, we don't have any bread. Jesus, we got to go back. We forgot the bread. He's like, okay. Don't you understand what just happened? Weren't you there when I fed 5,000 people? Weren't you there when I fed 4,000 people? And what did I feed them with? Bread. Where'd the bread come from? We don't know. Okay, do we have bread now? No, we're going to get it. We have no idea. So let's try this again. Last time it was lots of bread. Who was also there? You. Okay, good. Now, who's with you right now? Me. What do we not have? Bread. Where are we going to get it? No clue. And Jesus, honest to not so, says, don't you understand? He then goes and he heals a guy. Now somebody, I want you to look, you're doing a great job. I just want you to look through your passage there, right there where Jesus heals this blind guy, and I want you to tell me something odd that happens in this story. Henry, thank you. He puts hands on him, he heals him, and then what happens? Verse 24, Henry. Yep, and what does the guy say? Yep, I see people, but they look like trees walking around. And then what are the next 2 words? Yeah, maybe in your translation. Yeah, once more, very good. Once more. Once more, Jesus puts his hands on the guy's eyes, and now he can see people. Jesus is kind of giving an object lesson. He says, hey guys, here's this blind guy that he can't see. I've touched him, but he can't see, and now he can see. This is kind of like that. He's like, guys, don't you understand that the only way, you remember the cups from last week? You guys remember our cups? If you weren't here, we don't have time to redo it. But we said, you're trying to fill up, if I were to pour the water over there into this cup, how much water is it going to take to fill this cup up? Chandler, you were here. You remember how much water is going to fill this cup up? I mean, an endless amount of water is not going to work. Why? Because you saw this. Nobody else saw it, but you came up and you said, yeah, we got enough water. And then you looked at the cup and you said, no, I don't think we do. And Jesus says, hey guys, don't you understand that whatever you pour into this is going to leak out unless you got me inside of it. Like, go ahead and try it. Somebody says, you know what? I just don't really care, Jesus. I just don't really care for that. So I'm not going to go through all the cups, but I've got them all right here. We got wealth and power, relationships. He says, put them all in. We've got the sex cup. We've got the relationship cup. We've got the work cup, whatever it is. They've all got holes in them. We try to put all those in, and Jesus says, it's not going to work. No, Jesus, just let me try it. Let me be in charge of this. And Jesus, honest to not so, he sighs because he says, not just out of frustration, don't you get it, but what Wesley said, he sighs out of compassion. Oh, man. You're going to pour all that water, and you're going to use up all the water and it's just going to drain right through this because you don't have this. All we got time to do to end with is to go all the way back to Ecclesiastes to look at one passage. We'll finish up here. We're back in Ecclesiastes 3, and then we're at verse 12. He says, I know that there is nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live, that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God. I know that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it and nothing can be taken from it. God does this so that people will fear Him. So go back to verse 12. I know that there is nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live. You've heard the phrase before, which often gets attributed to Ecclesiastes, but is not what Solomon said. People say, well, just eat, drink, and be merry because tomorrow we're going to die. Might as well eat, drink, and be merry because tomorrow we're dead. Solomon says, no. That's not it. We didn't get the chance to, I blew the timing tonight to get to where we needed to get to. So we'll expand on this next week. Solomon says, no, don't just say the bubbles are all going to burst, so why even try to blow bubble? You might as well eat, drink, and be merry because tomorrow all the bubbles are going to be gone. He says, no. That's the gift. The gift is the blowing of the bubbles. You go blow bubbles with a child and you listen to a kid run and try to pop the bubbles and watch a dog jump up and watch one float over here and watch bubbles land over here and watch all the amazing things that happen with bubbles. He says that's the moment. You've been given that moment. That moment can never be taken from you. Yeah, but all the bubbles, stop focusing on the bubbles. It's not about the bubble that's going to burst. It's about the act of the bubbles. I don't know if that makes sense. But Solomon says, not just once, but he's going to say it at least 4 times. We'll look at them all next week, where he says, yes, life is fleeting. And yes, you do something and then it goes away and it fades away and people forget about this and people die. He says, enjoy the moment that you have right now as a gift from God. You remember Chandler's greater than sign, right? He made the greater than sign. And the 2 words we looked at were the words gift and the word gain. All of us are trying to gain something, a GPA or a medal or a position on the team or a position on student government or whatever. Those things aren't wrong. But he says, no, don't work for the gain. Just work for the gift. There's so much more that we're going to try to muscle our way through next week. But for somebody whose soul is really, really restless, we'll come back to that hymn that I told you about earlier. We'll come back to it again next week. I know there's some very restless hearts, and my prayer is that you would continue to focus on some of these texts that we've looked at tonight from Romans and Ecclesiastes. Write them down. Pray through them. Let them sit on your heart until we come back together next week. Let me say a prayer for you, and then if you have a question about something or want to ask a question, I'll hang out up here for just a moment, and then we'll see you later on next week. Let's pray. God, I thank you for tonight, and I thank you for your word, and I thank you for Mark, and I thank you for the Gospels, and I thank you for Paul, and I thank you for his letter to Romans. I thank you for Solomon and for the message to the Ecclesiastes, and God, all of these scriptures that work to speak to those parts of our hearts that are really struggling to know what is right and how we're going to do what's true. So God, I just ask that you would take whatever needs to be heard and that it would fall on the heart that needs to hear it, and that you can wipe it from our memory banks. But be with us until we come back next week when we can dive back into this and take that person here who is really wounded or struggling with a choice they made or something that's been done to them or something they don't understand, and that we can just stand alongside them and help them. And God, with this heavy sigh of despair that Jesus gave when he saw the struggle, God, he knew that this is not the way it was meant to be. He doesn't sigh out of frustration with us, but he sighs because he knows that the enemy is taking away the parts of us that are real and exchanging them for lies. And it hurts. And God, help that to hurt us the way that it hurts Jesus when we do that or our friends do that. Be with us as we leave and lift up those people that we prayed for earlier, and God, bring healing to them. And it's through your Son's name that we pray, and we all say together, Amen. God bless you guys. Have a great night. Say goodbye to somebody. Give like 3 air high fives on your way out.